The Alamo was originally called Misión San Antonio de Valera and was set up by the Spanish to convert Native Americans to Catholicism in the 18th century. It was just one of the many missions set up by the Spanish. The mission was then abandoned in 1793 for 10 years until it became a fort for Spanish forces. This is when it got its name as the Alamo because of the cottonwood trees nearby, known in Spanish as alamo. The Alamo served various purposes during the Mexican War of Independence. It was a political prison, a hospital, and the fort. The Mexican forces took control in 1821 when Mexico won its independence. During the Texan War for Independence, the Texans took the fort from Mexican forces and the Mexicans left their equipment such as cannons. 100 volunteer Texan soldiers occupied the fort. These men were not trained soldiers, but volunteer civilians. Colonel James Neal was in charge of these men and requested reinforcements, but the Texan government was unable to deliver. Instead, General Sam Houston sent James Bowie, a renowned knife fighter, and William Travis to the fort and ordered them to evacuate and move all weapons and destroy the Alamo. James Bowie disobeyed his orders as he thought the Alamo was a strategic location and there were not enough oxen to transport everything, so they decided to keep the Alamo. On February 11th, Neal left to find reinforcements, and James Bowie and William Travis shared command of the fort. On February 23rd, Mexico General Santa Anna arrived in San Antonio. There, over 2,000 Mexican soldiers attacked the Alamo. The Texans' forces of only 100 were able to fight for 13 days. On March 6th, the Mexicans broke through the fort as the Texans retreated to the barracks and chapel. They used cannons left behind to destroy walls and doors. The volunteer soldiers fought bravely to the death. Over 300 Mexican soldiers were either killed or wounded, while all of the Texan defenders were killed. General Santa Anna said to take no prisoners and ordered the bodies to be burned. After the Texan forces were eradicated, 1,000 Mexicans occupied the fort. Once General Santa Anna was captured in the Battle of San Jacinto, Mexico surrendered and Texas won its independence. The remaining soldiers destroyed the Alamo by firing cannons and burning down walls. The Battle of the Alamo made Texans motivated and were later heard yelling, "Remember the Alamo." Now the Alamo is a historic site which receives over 4 million visitors each year. The Alamo is an important historical monument because of its significance in the history of Texas. It has had various roles and showed the courage of the men who gave their lives.
The reason the Alamo arrests our attention and has attracted the attention of generations of Americans ever since it happened is, at its core, very simple. It's a battle in which everybody dies.
Well, the Alamo was an interesting saga in American frontier development, American independence, war with our neighboring nation, Mexico.
Texas is a province of Mexico, and a rebellious province of Mexico, even before the Americans had arrived. And the Mexican army is coming back to reclaim its territory. Considers that the Americans are either invaders, if they came to aid the rebellion, or traitors, if they were settlers there who had pledged their allegiance to Mexico.
And there in this Alamo, the old mission, the Americans hold up. About 100 of them, they get some reinforcements. And the famous people in American history that we know about that's so associated with the Alamo, Davy Crockett and Colonel Travis and Jim Bowie.
At the Alamo, you have one of these American citizen armies, volunteer armies, only 186 some odd guys, defending this outpost against an army of thousands, hoping for aid, hoping for rescue, and ultimately recognizing that they're going to be disappointed in their hope of rescue.
And this is the imagery that most Americans have, that they were overrun by these brutal Mexican forces and killed.
Great tragic losses are always more compelling, more dramatic than great victories, in part because they bring us face to face with something that's going to happen to all of us. We're going to die. The Alamo, in its day, gave them a moral cause, and so they raced into subsequent battles saying, "Remember the Alamo." And of course, Texans have been remembering the Alamo ever since.
The Alamo is part of American culture, the most widely visited historical site in the state of Texas, and in a sense, kind of an icon in American history of the mid-19th century.